First, tonight we're continuing to track these cold temperatures around the Miami Valley.
So here's a beautiful look from our EcoPlumber Skycam now over Beaver Creek tonight. Warmer today than yesterday. It didn't really feel like it, but it was. So let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Natalie Walters for an update.
Well, cold and quiet out here right now, but big changes are on the way by later this week as we are expecting some more bitterly cold air. But I think everybody really wants to know about the snow that's in the forecast, which is expected to arrive late tomorrow and then into the day on Friday. So we do have a new code red weather alert for Friday morning into Saturday morning. The reason why is because we do have the potential for accumulating snowfall in the forecast, which will make for slick roads. Very slick roads for our early Friday morning. Not huge snow totals, but it's not going to take much to make roads slick. And then below zero wind chills expected yet again by our early Saturday morning. For right now, though, it is cold, I'll say that, but this is an improvement. It's 26 in Dayton, 26 in Troy. Compared to this time yesterday, we are 15 degrees warmer compared to where we were. So it is warmer, but still very cold, and it's not going to be quite as cold tonight. Waking up to teens tomorrow morning with wind chills in the single digits. Going to time out our snow chance coming up in a bit.
The man accused of hitting his daughter with his truck, then leading police on a chase that resulted in an officer-involved shooting and crash has now been indicted. 54-year-old Michael Skirvin is accused of hitting his daughter with his truck at the Voyager Village Mobile Home Park. Now, he's been indicted on felonious assault with a deadly weapon and domestic violence charges. Skirvin is expected to go face additional charges for that chase and crash, which is still being investigated by BCI. Now, Skirvin remains in the hospital, is scheduled to be arraigned on the 23rd. The officer involved in that crash with Skirvin was released from the hospital yesterday.
And with the extremely cold temperatures comes water main breaks. Earlier today, there was a water main break at West 3rd Street and State Route 49, which is a heavily trafficked intersection. Lydia Bice is live there now and spoke to Montgomery County Environmental Services today on what to do if your neighborhood experiences a water main break. Lydia.
That's right, Elise. Today I spoke with Megan O'Leary, Public Information Officer for Montgomery County Environmental Services, on why we've seen so many water main breaks over the past few days, just like that one here at this intersection that I'm standing at right now.
We are in the thick of the cold season, of course, so we do see an increase in water main breaks. It's just when those cold temperatures hit, especially when it's prolonged cold temperatures, the ground begins to freeze like even further deeper down into the ground. And then that can cause shifting in the dirt.
Now, Montgomery County has been hard at work over the past few years to replace a lot of those out-of-date water pipes, and the county has big plans for 2024, a $7 million project to replace pipes across the entire county.
So, Lydia, what should Montgomery County residents do then if they do notice a water main break on their street?
So luckily, Montgomery County Environmental Services has a 24/7 hotline number that you can call if you notice extremely low water pressure in your house or even water running down your street. That number is 937-781-2678. Back to you.
Lydia, thanks. Dayton fire crews had to battle flames as well as freezing temperatures while attempting to put out a vacant house fire on Parrott Street. Now, the low temps caused fire hydrants to freeze and burst hoses. Neighbors told crews they believe people were inside, but after a search, the district chief says there was no one inside, but there were signs people had been occupying the space. The cause of that fire is still being investigated. Tonight, a judge is deciding whether or not to dismiss felony charges against the man accused of causing a school bus crash that killed a little boy. Hermanio Joseph is charged with involuntary manslaughter and vehicular homicide for the death of 11-year-old Aiden Clark. Now, Clark was killed in August back in the Springfield area. Investigators say Joseph drove left of center, crashing into a bus full of children. Now, at the center of the motion is whether Joseph should be charged with a felony or misdemeanor. Prosecutors say Joseph was driving illegally because his license was from Mexico, where he lived before moving to Ohio. But Joseph's lawyers say the state has not presented any evidence showing that his license was invalid at the time of the crash. The judge has not made a decision yet.
The Tip City School Board now being sued over its meetings. Nonprofit Open and Government Advocates claims the Board of Education does not properly provide notice of time, place, and purpose of its special meetings and violates the Open Meetings Act. OGA states the board has habitually held unlawful special meetings over the last 2 years. 5 board members were named in the suit. Now this comes after weeks of controversy and leadership changes to the board.
Major Kettering employer plans to lay off more than 100 employees this year. VS Direct Fulfillment, whose parent company is Victoria's Secret, issued a warn notice saying its mass layoff will begin in March. The majority of layoffs will be for customer care specialists. Layoffs expected to be permanent and completed by August.
Protesters taking to Northwest Dayton today on the 6th anniversary of the closure of Good Samaritan Hospital. Since then, the area has been in a healthcare desert. A multi-million-dollar health and wellness campus sits in its place. It is urgent and specialized care, but the community says it's not enough to meet the demand.
We don't need an urgent care. Getting an urgent care for this community is like putting a Band-Aid on a cancer patient. So we're standing out here protesting, letting them know that this facility does not adequately meet the needs of chronically ill people, and that's why we're out here demonstrating today.
Bishop Cox says patients that have illnesses like kidney disease, cancer, and diabetes can't get the care they need there, which means lives will be lost. He says the community will continue to fight for a real hospital.
Tonight we have an update after a document was leaked from the Montgomery County Board of Elections during a public hearing yesterday. It was discovered that lawyers representing protesters against former Trotwood Mayor Mary McDonald had obtained a leaked document from the Montgomery County BOE. Now, McDonald is trying to run as a Republican for the Montgomery County Commissioner spot. Lydia Bice spoke with the Board of Elections director to get answers.
So have you all figured out how that leak happened and maybe who did it?
Not at this time. We're in the process of, as you heard yesterday, the board has tasked both the director and the deputy director to now kind of just figure out what happened and why that ended up. I guess the bigger concern from my standpoint and just from fairness and transparency is that somehow it ended up in the hands of Miss McDonald's opponent, husband.
You mentioned, do you that it was in the hands of Debbie Lieberman's husband, according to that attorney yesterday, right? Do you think maybe that this could have been politically motivated since the lawyer that was mentioned yesterday is Debbie Lieberman's husband?
I think the situation is the way the protest happened and the way the vote happened, it's all politically motivated. Here at the Board of Elections, we're about having fair, open, and making sure that our elections are at the utmost integrity so that the voters are responsible.
What do you say to people who already might not trust the election process right now, but then, they saw our story or other stations' story last night about this leaked document, and then maybe now they're having trouble trusting their local Board of Elections? Maybe some of them formed that opinion. What would you say to them?
Easy thing, I would tell you to come down to the Board of Elections. Meet with me or my deputy director. If you're even more skeptical, easiest thing, become a poll worker. Come down, we train you, you're actually in the action, or sometimes we have seasonal help. Come down, be one of our seasonal employees.
Now, Rezebeck went on to tell us that he should have more information on who exactly leaked that document and what repercussions they might face in the next week or so.
Tonight, Governor Mike DeWine addressing the possible dangers of intoxicating hemp and the impact it has on children. Now, it's also known as Delta 8, and it's sold in many places, including tobacco shops. Delta 8 is a strain of the THC that's different than the type in traditional cannabis products. Delta 8 is not regulated. DeWine is asking for legislature to prevent its sale to children.
The big concern is kids who are walking in can legally buy it. And what that impact has on their brain. The younger the child, the more impact and the graver concern in regard to the cognitive development and the ability of that brain to function at the level it should function.
Governor DeWine says the House is now working on a bill to address intoxicating hemp.
For the first time, we're hearing how much of an impact a newly proposed passenger rail route would have for Ohio. It's called the 3C and D and would connect Cincinnati and Cleveland with stops in Dayton and Columbus. Christian Hauser shows us why it could be millions of dollars and hundreds of jobs.
Connecting Cincinnati, Dayton, Columbus, and Cleveland by rail has been talked about for years, but with available federal funding and more of an interest in passenger rail than at any other time in recent memory, this could be the time it actually happens. Today, the passenger rail advocacy group, All Aboard Ohio, presented an economic impact report it says proves that this service can succeed. Cincinnati currently is served by 6 Amtrak trains a week, 3 going to New York and 3 going to Chicago. But you've probably never seen it, though, as the trains come through in the middle of the night through Union Terminal. Now, this report shows between 190 and as many as 410 jobs could be created in Cincinnati as part of the initial investment for the 3C&D project. Now, that would translate into between $10 and $23 million in earnings for an economic impact of up to $36 million.
The Justice Department is set to release a report tomorrow on the Uvalde mass shooting. Adam at the Now Desk, and do we have any idea what this may involve?
Yeah, it's going to involve the department's findings on the police's response to that May 2022 tragedy. 21 people were killed at a Texas elementary school, and that report has been a long time coming. Now, the DOJ announced the start of the investigation 5 days after that massacre. Families of the children say they hope the report answers some questions. Some in the community have called the police response an abject failure, with more than 300 officers waiting 77 minutes to confront the shooter.
Concerns over the safety of railroad bridges across the state, the roadblock lawmakers are now facing when it comes to fixing the issue.
And the cold weather hitting everyone hard. A look at how those who have to work outside are preparing before heading out to work.
And snow is on the way. I'll let you know how much we're expecting. That's coming up. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk. Ice was the word this morning in Oregon, from roads turning into skating rinks to a hummingbird finding a frozen place to perch, and a flower completely encapsulated in ice. Thankfully, temperatures are now above freezing. Sub-freezing temperatures in Arkansas turned Bridal Veil Falls into a frozen beauty, and a sun pillar made an early morning appearance near Kalamazoo, Michigan.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
Concerns over dangerous and aging train bridges in the tri-state. Even more concerned that inspection reports are almost impossible to get. James Pilcher explains.
When I began reporting on issues with train bridges, one of the first people I spoke to was Butler County engineer Greg Wilkins. He's the one who raised the initial alarm about the structures, most of which are more than 100 years old. Wilkins inspectors listed 5 in Butler County as being in poor or critical condition. The county inspects train bridges as a courtesy, even though it's not required to. Our stories prompted Senator Sherrod Brown last summer to seek a full inventory of all such bridges in Ohio, as well as the official railroad inspection reports. But he couldn't get them. So now I've returned to Wilkins, as has Brown's office, to see if he can get the inspection reports.
Senator Brown and Warren Davison, our congressman, is also concerned over these issues that they're not able to get the records, that the railroads won't produce the records. And I think from everyone's standpoint, it's viewed as a safety matter. And these records should be public information.
Wilkins confirmed to me Wednesday he authorized Brown's office to use his name to get those reports from the Federal Railroad Administration, the agency which oversees railroads.
All right, so you saw some of the weather that the country's facing, and we're not much better out here, although, as you mentioned, it is a little bit warmer today, so that's good.
Yeah, it's amazing how the 20s are just a little bit warmer than we have been feeling. You know, tomorrow is going to be even warmer than we were today, but then we track a snow chance in the forecast as well as bitterly cold air returning. So right now we do have some cloud cover making its way back in after wall-to-wall sunshine earlier this afternoon. So we're tracking area of low pressure that's off to the Pacific Northwest. That's going to be sending snow traveling through the northern plains, eventually making it into our area. And then we'll also track another area of low pressure that will ride its way northeastward, making another chance for some snow here. So tomorrow we're going to spend most of the day in the 20s, eventually topping out around 30 degrees. Few snow showers by the late morning, early afternoon hours, but it's not until tomorrow evening we're going to start to see snow build in from the southwest as well as from the northwest, basically merging by our early Friday morning. Widespread snow showers in the forecast just in time for that morning commute. It's going to be very slick with temperatures in the 20s, and then the temperatures really begin to fall. I'll talk about how much we're expecting coming up here in just a bit.
On days like today, it is dangerous to be working outdoors, but AEP Ohio crews do it to make sure the lights stay on and you and your family stay warm. Sarah Converse shows us how they work and deal with the bitter cold.
Safety is a priority at AEP Ohio. While this may look easy, they have to work in all the elements.
We spent the morning with Line Crew Supervisor Craig Williams on how he keeps his crews warm.
We'll wear long underwear, definitely layer up. We wear fire retardant. We'll wear a hoodie to stop us from the wind hitting our face, a face mask, gloves. We'll put hand warmers on. We wear rubber gloves and sleeves, and you know rubber will attract heat or cold. So we'll put hand warmers underneath our gloves. We'll put them on the dash to get them warmed up before we go.
While crews are working hard to keep the lights on, they're always keeping an eye on each other, making sure their members are not showing any signs of frostbite, hypothermia, or even dehydration. Reporting in Columbus, I'm Sarah Converse.
Community leaders across the Miami Valley joining together to combat hunger in the area. So the Super Bowl of Caring is helping to eliminate child hunger in Dayton. Our partners will be accepting food and monetary donations throughout the area. Those donations will then be distributed to 3 local organizations, the Food Bank, For Love of Children, or Flock, and the House of Bread. You can contribute by taking out your phone, scan that QR code there on the top right. You can make a donation. The donation drive itself ends February 12th.
And Ohio State formally introduces its new athletic director. This guy right here, Ross Bjork, will now oversee 36 sports, including Buckeye football. Clay Hall shows us what we can expect from the new Buckeye AD.
51-year-old Ross Bjork said he will drive the culture, acquire resources, enhance, and lead. And what put Bjork over the top in terms of his new boss, President Ted Carter?
The biggest one is having that experience. As I go through his resume, where he's been, and even some of the challenges, which I saw in some cases as a positive.
After laying out his vision, Bjork was peppered with questions about rare missteps like extending the contract to former Aggie football coach Jimbo Fisher and then firing him. Fisher left A&M with $75 million.
You own those decisions. If they happened on your watch, maybe you were responsible and maybe you weren't.
Bjork expects the Big Ten and SEC to shape the future of college football.
What I think of Big Ten football is success, tradition, cold. So I don't think I've wore a parka at a football game in a long time. So I know I'm going to have to do that as well.
Well, overall calm conditions out there right now, but we will start to see snow showers as early as tomorrow, and then really tomorrow night is when we start to see the snow become more widespread. So I wanted to take a look at the big picture here to show you what we're tracking. So snow will begin to track across the northern plains. We will see a few snow showers for our northern counties early into the day tomorrow, and then we're also tracking the system to our south. So I will say my only concern here is some dry air right over our region before these really begin to merge. But as of right now, it does look like we will start to see some widespread snow showers develop into our Friday night and Thursday night, early Friday morning. So totals, I do think 1 to 2 inches for right now, but just a little bit of snow with temperatures well below freezing will make for a very slick morning commute and potentially about 2 to 4 inches for our northern counties. I'll have a look at our 7-day coming up.
You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
the Dayton 24/7 Now News app, brought to you by the Jeff Schmidt Auto Group.
Along with those snow chances, we're also tracking some more very cold air arriving. So single-digit wind chills out there right now. Tomorrow, feeling like the 20s, so that's an improvement from the single digits and below freezing. But heading into our Friday, not too bad, but we start to see that very cold air return. So here's a look at Saturday morning, about 10, maybe up to 15 below zero for our early Saturday morning, and then staying in the single digits during our day on Sunday. Heading into our Tuesday, though, taking a look at our temperatures, back into the 30s for wind chills, and then it does look like potentially even some 50s by late into next week. There's a look at 46 by next Wednesday, with our extended forecast showing those very active days for these next couple of days. Friday, Saturday, we have code red weather alerts due to accumulating snowfall. Again, snowfall totals, although not anticipating some huge numbers, it won't take a lot for things to get very messy. I know we saw some light snow early Tuesday morning and it was very slick out there. So same trend, except even more for our early Friday morning. Right now it's looking like 1 to 2 inches, but I do think we could see even more, especially along and north of I-70, and then bitterly cold air arriving by our Saturday. And then those 40s are going to feel